Really interesting. If you've missed them, you can catch up online at cmthub.co.uk. I'm Carla Romaitis. I'm the Workforce Lead and Director of Joy for Cheshire and Merseyside Training Hub. We are tasked with attracting, growing and retaining the workforce across one of the largest ICBs in England. But I am so pleased to have with us today Dr. Kristina Milne, who is going to be talking to us about the First Five group, the local group to Cheshire East to Macclesfield, and providing that peer support, that networking opportunities for GPs that are newly qualified. So we're going to start recording and pop your questions in the chat. After 10 minutes, we'll finish the recording and we'll have a space for a more open and honest conversation. So there'll be no pressure there. But a huge welcome to you, Kristina. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Carla.
No, it's our pleasure, and something we're really keen on sharing around the importance of networking. So we jump in. So how did the First Five group start?
Yeah, so for Macclesfield, it was a couple of years ago now. There was a group of us already meeting who'd all qualified from the Macclesfield GP training programme. And then we'd heard about this new First Five group that had been set up for Cheshire, and we went along and we realised it was, so Penny and Ellie, who set that up for part of their fellowship, they were primarily based in Chester, which for us in East Cheshire is about an hour's drive away, so it's quite far. So one of our co-leads, James, he suddenly came to the realization we were already running a group informally. So what can we do to sort of get that formal recognition, because we essentially were a First Five group, and maybe get some access to funding from our LMC, and then also just help us be a bit more visible to other newly qualified GPs in the area, and help sort of grow our network and support more people.
So what feedback have you had directly from the GPs about the value of attending this local group?
Yeah, I think the main feedback we get is generally just around the informal support that you get from your peers, because the transition from being a GP registrar to a newly qualified GP, it can be really difficult. So speaking to people that have been through it or going through it, it can be really helpful and let you navigate it with a bit more understanding, and so, even some simple things like the administrative tasks to do with getting on the performers list or sorting out your pensions form for the first time. It's a bit of a minefield. And then the group, there's more practical tips as well about how do you actually find a job, what do you look for in a practice, how do you prepare for interviews, because for a lot of people, you've been in education since you're 18, it's sort of in training programs, so then you're talking 10 years later, you're in this entirely new territory with no experience on how to navigate that, so it's quite good for that. And then just, I suppose the other thing is we talk about sort of job opportunities in the area. So my practice is recruiting, come and have a look, or particularly those ones maybe to avoid as well. So, and for people that are new to the area that really have no idea where to start, it can be quite a nice place to start. And then I think just generally, if you don't need those kind of tips and tricks, it's nice to just hang out with some, your peers and have a bit of downtime from the job and just de-stress, really.
See what's going on. I mean, that must be saving a huge amount of energy for the NHS, for you to have that informal network and talking about jobs and those opportunities. That's priceless in terms of advertising and marketing, isn't it? Something that we would not be able to achieve as a system, a formal system and a structure, and that's really interesting, especially because I wonder how, if you as an employer, you would infiltrate that group and want to make your practice be one that is spoken about. So how important do you feel that early peer connection is for GPs?
Yeah, I think it's so important. Going back to that thing about sort of some people, the workload doubles overnight from being a registrar to a GP, so it's really stressful to navigate that change. So knowing that somewhere's been through it and you just need to keep going, you'll get through it and find your feet eventually. And I suppose if you are having a hard time somewhere, speaking to your peers, away from the practice, you can discuss sort of, well, what's the norm versus what is actually a challenge in practice, and what should you be pushing back on, and actually know what do you need to sort of accept and figure out what works for you. So I think it just helps people give the confidence to sort of help themselves in navigating that first couple of years. And then I suppose just from an early career GP point of view, just keeping in touch with your mates as well, that maybe you've gone through training with them, so it's nice to just generally keep in touch.
It must be difficult to find some confidentiality within a small practice to be able to have some of those questions, I guess, between you all. So what kind of makes the group difference from like more formal training or cleaning?
Because what your practice might expect, and you've said, oh, I'm finding this challenging, and they might say, well, just get on with it. If you go to the mission, this was one of the solutions to that. So it helps give you ideas on how to address any problems that you're having, which is quite nice. And then I suppose just generally it opens your perspective to opportunities that are out there as well, what other people are doing. So there's more to life than general GP work. So we've got a lot of people that doing stuff in education, or some people working in the private sector, how to do additional training qualifications like in family planning, minor surgery, or even setting your sights on bigger organisational roles. How do you get those sort of jobs? Or even we've got a few people moving abroad to like Canada and Australia. So why would you do that? What's the benefits of that? So that's sort of the other perks of the group. And then we get a lot of support from our local LMC, so we often share resources that from them, and obviously the Cheshire Training Hub, we get stuff that we share as well, so things like mentoring and just extra support, which is quite helpful.
It sounds like a really rich area to kind of grab all that information and to come with a problem when you've got one as well. I think that's part of, maybe the really good benefit of it is that you can wait to speak to your peers, your friends, and see what they think when you need to. Have you got any specific examples where it's made a real difference to somebody in your group?
I think the best examples we've got in both East and West Cheshire now is sort of people that are new to the area. So they don't know anybody, they don't know any surgeries. So we've had a couple of people come and actually managed to find jobs through the groups, and then they've also been able to sort of plug into with the newly qualified GPs and create their own network that they then are able to meet up with and have that support. So they're the best examples we've got, and then I think the other sort of main examples are when people are having a tough time. So if you get in mixed messages from the surgery and what you're expecting, then it helps people navigate that, validate their worries, and potentially, if things aren't working for them, they know that it's not the right place for them. So I think that, because they're really difficult, you feel like you're on your own in those situations sometimes.
We did a survey. I don't know whether you actually took part in it, but we've done a few across Cheshire and Merseyside now. And one of the bits of feedback that we got was that GPs felt lonely in their role, not just newly qualified. And I think in one particular, it was 50% of GPs actually felt very lonely in their job, which affected their mental health and affected their well-being, but also felt lonely because of the additional hours that they work. So then when they had to come up to their social life, they can't be flexible, or they couldn't do certain things, so I think that this is what we heard from in the surveys. We had over 1,000 people that responded in total across the patch to say that actually it's something that's so needed for those reasons. So how do you think you could grow these sessions or provide even more support? Is that something that you'd be looking to do?
Yeah, definitely. I think for us, we can see the benefits of doing something locally. So, you know, because we do work such long days sometimes, having a group that meets up in your town, you know, 15 to 20 minutes away is much better than an hour. You know, you're not going to get there if it's 8 o'clock. So I think the best way to provide more support is to have more of these groups up and down the country. And I think the smaller the groups tend to work better because you've got more opportunity to talk to people then and chat. And then, you know, the larger ones do work. So we've had groups of up to 15 to 20 at times, but they work better if you've got the chance to sort of break off into smaller groups and mingle. Because I think everybody's got such different experience and perspectives. So, you know, what one person says, oh, I wouldn't do it like that, or I would do it like that. Someone else says, no, I agree with what you've done. You know, so I think having that sort of shared experience and speaking to different people is really part of it. So
well, we've actually done 10 minutes, Kristina. It's just flowing,
right.
hasn't it? So we're going to stop recording there and we're going to go to the chat. So I'm going to invite people